Commissioned review. As I mentioned, this is action heavy in the first half of the year for a string of commissions that I got, and this one is known for a pretty specific kind of action, and that being its car chases. But I'd never seen it, so I'm going to talk about the whole thing. Ronin. So this is a late 90s movie, one of the last movies from director John Frankenheimer, considered to be his sort of late career masterpiece. And it it's pretty good. It's a bit of its time, partially out of the setup that it has, because it's a very post Cold War premise, because you basically have a bunch of operatives formerly of the U.S. Or the USSR, and obviously the USSR not existing anymore, and the U.S. not needing as many of these kinds of operatives because they're not combating the USSR anymore, who, as a result, are kind of freewheeling. They're mercenaries. They are available for hire. And so you have a number of people who have never met each other before get pulled together by this woman for the purposes of stealing a case. We never find out what's in the case, which is fine. We don't need to. It's a MacGuffin. It doesn't really matter what's in the case. All that matters is that everybody wants it. Functionally, that's all that is necessary, and that gets established. Robert De Niro is the big name in this one. Although, while he's good in this. He works for it, for sure. I'd say the highlights for me were Jean Reno and Stellan Skarsgård. Um, and like those aren't the only people who I recognized. Jonathan Pryce is in this, playing a little bit against type in a fun way, and Sean Bean was in this. Boy, like I understood this was earlier in his career, but it was so strange seeing Sean Bean be comparatively the young, brash, and more inexperienced one of the group. It's funny. But it's a good, solid cast, and there's a lot of emphasis on the competence of the people involved, which I appreciate. I'm coming to really enjoy what I've seen called elsewhere competence porn, where like the story's not moved along by people making really huge mistakes or doing things really. It's sort of the opposite of an idiot plot. An idiot plot moves forward because characters do really stupid things. Competence porn moves forward because the characters are very good at what they do, but the circumstances is such that they can't necessarily just wrap it all up quickly, regardless of how competent they are. And that to me is way more interesting 9 times out of 10. And the level of experience that you get, and you only get like scant backstories for any of these guys, but the little bits you get, and then also through their actions and what they just do as people, tells you a lot about the kind of work that they did and are good at. And there's a reason that the car chases are as lauded as they are in this, because they're really good, and they're really good in a way you almost never see anymore. And a lot of it has to do, well, it has to do with two things. It has to do with practicality, because while CGI was a thing and they could have used it, probably wouldn't have looked great, but they could have used it, but they don't. They just do this stuff. And there's something about taking what could otherwise be a relatively standard car chase and forcing it into a location that should not accommodate a car chase. So when we're talking about really cramped streets of Europe, I think it is specifically France, if I remember correctly, then yeah, that is gonna ramp things up when some of the alleyways and streets that they are driving down are just barely wide enough for the cars to even fit. Like, and I've seen the sort of narrow streets thing done, but never with the dedication that this is done. This is dedicated to long takes, following the cars with the camera, and also no slow motion that I can recall. Like, that's the other thing that I really would have expected if this was made today, would be to do a lot of slow mo. And don't misunderstand me. Slow-mo can be deployed very well in a car chase as well, but there's something about just seeing it happen and not having this flashy slowdown like, oh, look what we did, but just like, no, that just happens now. That car, that we really just flipped that car over on an actual usable piece of road while it was on fire. We just did that. And it's something about it feels so much more real for not getting slowed down. There's something about slow motion. It can bring a lot of emphasis to stuff, but it does make it a little less real. Because obviously our actual point of view on something doesn't slow down like that. And again, that's not to say that you can't use slow-mo in an action setting at all very well, but it doesn't make it feel real most of the time. And I think this really benefits from like, now we're just going to show you this. Boom! And it's real good. There's multiple car chases in this, and some of them go on for a while. And I have gotten bored with chases that went on too long. That's happened to me repeatedly with multiple movies. And I didn't with this because it just felt so dangerous for the setting and how tight everything was, and just knowing that they had to really do it. One of the other characters, unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the actor. I'll put it down here. The character's name is Larry. They made a decision with that character that I'm slightly mixed on. So he is a stunt driver. And he is the driver of the group. Now, he's not the only one who gets to drive, but anytime you see his character driving, he was actually doing it. And I do think it is cool to give a really talented stunt performer like that a chance to just be an actor as well. Like, I like that in general principle. That having been said, he's not a great actor. Like, he doesn't drag it down or anything. And honestly, they were smart enough not to give him too many lines. So he mostly just has to stand around and he looks the part well enough. But there was something about, especially some of the close-ups while he was actually doing the driving. And I think it's an offshoot of the fact that because he's doing the driving for real, even in the shots where you can clearly see his face, because he's focused so much on doing some very difficult driving, he has no awareness of whether or not he's pulling a real goofy face. And he pulls a couple. And it did take me out of the moment a little bit, which is a shame. And again, I don't really want to knock him as a performer for that, because like, dude had to concentrate like hell to do this driving and not get anybody killed, I'm sure. But at the same time, it was kind of a reminder like, oh, there is a reason why, like for inserts and close-ups, they'll get actors who aren't actually doing the driving so that they can focus on how they look in the moment and not have to worry about the rest of it. There is a reason why that's a thing. I spent more time on that than is worth it. That's a pretty minor thing. You know what else it kind of reminded me of? It reminded me a little bit of Atomic Blonde in terms of, or at least my memory of Atomic Blonde. That's actually on the docket for this string of action stuff. So we'll see if that comparison actually holds up worth a dang at all. I'm not sure it will. But by that, I don't necessarily mean just like the action scenes or whatever, which are the most memorable thing about Atomic Blonde. But as much as I remember finding Atomic Blonde's actual plot to be needlessly convoluted, there is an overarching sense of there's just a bunch of people around who have a really dangerous set of skills, and they are getting in each other's way, and you don't know what any of them are going to do, or if they're working on behalf of somebody else. And it just has this overall air of everybody knows that everybody else is dangerous, and they really don't have the first clue on if anybody can or should be trusted, even in the immediate moment, much less long term. Just that overall energy reminded me of Atomic Blonde, or again, my memory of Atomic Blonde. I'd say that like there is a believable amount of camaraderie that develops between Jean Reno and Robert De Niro's character. And I'm going to chalk that up largely to the chemistry of the actors. They do a really good job of selling, like building that respect for each other just by working together. And I buy it. It's good. And Stellan Skarsgård is, oh, wow. It's Here's something that I actually really appreciate about this movie, and I think Stellan Skarsgård being something of a badass in this, like scarily so, is a testament to this. The fact that this comes from an era where spies were meant to look like spies, i.e., just dudes, just people who you would not necessarily look twice at, or if you did, you wouldn't linger on them. Because, and this isn't strictly a James Bond problem, although James Bond kind of nudged things in this direction over time, but we are at an age at this point where like every single one of these characters would be played by somebody really buff, really handsome, or like just in some way having that Hollywood exaggeration about them. You know, whether it's in terms of like how fit they are, or you know, how handsome and you know, dashing they are, or whatever. Like, no, these are just guys. It's just a group of guys. They're just dudes. And I like that, and I miss that. I feel like as the espionage genre over time kind of got swallowed by the action genre, we lost casts like this where nobody is cast because they are the strongest or the most handsome or the most dashing. Because, like, again, I did say it's not James Bond's fault, but I'm going to kind of make the comparison. Like, it feels like these days a movie like this would cast every single person with an actor who could have been cast as Bond. And this just isn't. And it's nice. I miss stuff like this. So overall, it's pretty positive. I don't want to oversell it. Like, it is a decent piece of work. It's a strong piece of work. It is quite competent. It's enjoyable. It's not life-changing. Like, it's not a transcendent experience, but it's a really solid entry in the espionage action genre, and the more grounded end of that kind of thing, for that matter. So yeah, I'm glad I finally got around to seeing this. I remember being curious and like thinking about renting it when I was in high school, and I never did. But I'm glad I've seen it now. Ronin, have you seen it? What'd you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe, those all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. Take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lafula, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Oliver B, Mystic Shadow, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Pickapok, Becky Sparks, Ulrich, Twilord, Tracy Scrabbit, Palbro Rabajoggle, Cindy Ella, Sir Didymus is my favorite, and thanking some random folks from my lower tiers of support. Thank you, Pippa Barwell, Mandy Walla, and Jessica, the Trans Metal Alchemist. The boys are back, and we've got a new one here. We have Navarro has joined the mischief. Okay, so that's just what we're doing now. All right.